Thank you, John. By the way, Magellan Avenue is in San Francisco, not too far from Lincoln High School where John went, I think. Anyway, thank you very much, and I want to thank the Democratic Party and John Burton, not only for helping on Prop 30, but for helping before on Prop 25. Because California is working, and it's working unlike Washington, for a very important reason. Because Democrats put on the ballot a proposition to make majority vote on the budget the reality in California. That's why it's working. Boy, that made a difference when we had to make decisions on cuts, on all sorts of regulations, on the taxes. The majority vote, it really made a difference. So California is really leading the way in so many different ways. We see in Washington deadlock, we see in California consensus and commitment. People were saying this was a failed state. That was only a couple of years ago. The pundits at Fox, the Wall Street Journal, other conservative commentators all said California is like Greece or some third world country. Well, the fact is, California is back. We've got 1 million new jobs, and this is still the beacon for the whole world. You know, for a decade, the budget was going up and going down, mostly down. The deficits got as high as $60 billion one year. Programs were cut. Teachers by the thousands were laid off. Tuition increases were rampant at the University of California. All that was going on. Well, now, because of the work of the Democratic majority in the legislature, the Speaker and the Senate pro tem, it's made a big difference. And I think you ought to give them a big thanks because they helped do it. And by the way, when we talk about 1 million jobs, and that's what it is, and by the way, the recovery is faster in California than the national average. So that's true. But in addition to that, we've now passed a law to raise the minimum wage to $10 an hour. I also was able to sign a bill on prevailing rates so that plumbers and electricians and laborers and carpenters earn a decent and living wage based on their skill. Prevailing rates are a law and alive and vigorously enforced in California. And we got a labor commissioner who's on the side of the worker. And the worker, whether it's an undocumented or any other kind of worker, we're fighting in state government for people who, by the sweat of their brow and by their commitment, make our life a little better. So, and by the way, when we talk about workers, we just don't talk about those with a citizenship papers or a green card. We also talk about those who are undocumented. And again, as Washington fiddles and just speechifies, California has acted on immigration reform. We passed the DREAM Act. We made driver's licenses available. We created the Trust Act to limit the ability of a sheriff to send undocumented workers over to the Immigration Service. So, I mean, that is a response. And by the way, the reason why we did that is because the power of and the voice of Latinos in this state has been heard. It wasn't very long ago that the people of California passed 187. You remember that, don't you? Well, what happened? What happened is the Latinos, a sleeping giant, rose up, and now even the Republicans are worried in Congress that if they don't pass an immigration bill, they're going to be even further lost in history than they are today. California, we're not running away from Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. We're embracing it. We're embracing it to the extent that we're adding millions of people to our Medi-Cal program. People and families will get insurance for the first time ever. And under the Cover California program, millions of people will be able to obtain affordable health care. So a lot of states say no. California says yes. Yes to health care for as many Californians as possible. And when we think of vulnerable people, who Medi-Cal is going to help. We also ought to think of the forgotten people who've landed in jail or prison. This is not popular in many circles in politics or in states, but it's a fact that in California, over a 30-year period, our prisons increased their population by 500%. The crime rate went up less than 100%. Population rate even lower. So today, we have a bold prison reform called realignment, and tens of thousands of people who would otherwise be locked up in a cell are now in their community, getting drug treatment, mental health programs, job training, and we're really recognizing the humanity of people who have otherwise been locked up for years. And again, it's taken government from the state capital, Sacramento, moving it to the local community. That's what realignment is. It's to recognize the power of local communities where people live. We don't live in the state capital. We live in each neighborhood of California, and that is really the central idea behind realignment. Keep stuff local, you can respond to it easier. And when we talk about local, we also have to think about our schools. Now, schools and education, in many ways, gets to be a political football. We have all sorts of people who want to jump in the act. We got people in Washington telling us what tests we're supposed to take. Well, California is the only state that stood up and said, no, we're not doing these tests this year. By the way, it's not that kids don't have enough tests. They got tests coming out their ears. But California is pioneering the Common Core. And the Common Core is a new curriculum, new standards. And to do that, teachers need preparation. The tests need to be pilot tested. And a lot of work has to go on. So we're preparing for that. We've been preparing for several years. But most important, California is recognizing that the test of the genius of each child is not how they bubble in A, B, C, or D. Education is not filling a pail. It's lighting a fire in the soul and spirit of every child. Over the years, California has developed an education code of 10 volumes. It goes on thousands and thousands of laws. And we got people in Washington, we got the Department of Education, we got the legislature, we got the State Board of Education, we got Torlakson, we got all these people. But at the end of the day, when you shut the door, it's only the teacher. That's where we make the difference, the teachers of California. And I want to remember, and I want everybody in Sacramento and Washington to remember, we're here to help the teacher, not add new burdens or some obstacle course that makes his or her job all that much more difficult. Of course, you have to say something about the drought. Water is not just H2O. It's not just a resource. Water forever has formed a vital element in our very well-being and our conception of ourselves. We have to treat it preciously. We got to manage it above ground and under the ground. We have to have intelligent rules. We have to restore the wetlands. We got a big challenge out there, and we'll deal with it. California is going to do whatever it takes to make sure we use our water in a careful, efficient, and wise way. And next, I got it. The key challenge facing California is not just drought today, it's climate change, now and forever. California is the one state that actually has a goal of reducing the consumption of oil, gas, and coal and other fossil fuels. We are on the road. We will reduce our CO2 25 billion tons by 2020. I challenge anybody to find any other state that is on that path, a serious path. Well, here's what we have. We are a state that has a goal of 33.5% renewable energy. 33, we're going to go higher than that. We have a commitment to energy-efficient buildings, energy-efficient appliances. We have 30% of the electric cars. Now, all you guys who like to make noise, just listen a moment. Californians, and most of you included, are driving over 330 billion miles a year. 330 billion miles a year, and 99% is fossil fuel. Hell, you can get to the sun, it's only 93 miles away, 93 million. So the challenge here is gigantic, and solving climate change, which is a catastrophe for every living being, and we got to do something about it. It's not one thing, it's a whole series of things. And California is not only leading the way, we're signing pacts with China, with Canada, with British Columbia, with other states. You can be sure that everything that needs to be done to fight climate change that we can accomplish, we'll do it. And I ask all of you, every one of you in this room, to join in a crusade to protect our climate, to find other ways of mobility, and to make sure this California dream is alive and well, both now and for generations to come. Ever since would it be if we only did one thing would solve our climate change? That is not the way it is. We need electric cars. We need new land use rules so people can live closer to where they work. We need massive renewable energy. We need different kind of grids. We need to change the way agriculture works. We got to do it all. And if we can't get limited just to one thing, you have to do the whole story. And we're going to do it not just in California, because we're only 1%. We're 1% of the pollution. We have to get other states and other nations to join with us. California, the nation state, the dream of the world, will do exactly that. And with your help, we're going to build for the future, not steal from it, and we're going to create a mass movement of people and states everywhere, not just in the United States, but worldwide. This party and this state are leading, and together we're going to make it work. Thanks a lot, and keep protesting, but add a bunch of more stuff. Thank you.